Hey, Sam Melson coming to you live, Precious World Mobile Studios. Mobile because I am heading to a networking meeting. And speaking of that, if you are in the real estate investing space and you haven't gotten your first deal or your second deal, it is my role to help you do that. I know what it means to go to those fancy seminars, spend tens, 20, 30, 40, even $50,000 with the glitz and glam, thinking you're going to get out of there and become a real estate investing expert. And frankly, it doesn't really work that way. They know, those that put on these seminars, they know that 95% of folks that attend those seminars do not do anything except give them their money up front. And if you're one of those, don't worry about it. There's a lot of you like that. So my role and my job and my purpose is to talk to that niche of folks that have been or have tried to be in real estate investing and just can't seem to get their first deal done. I'll tell you, that's the hardest thing to do. I know when I first got started full time, that is, it took me 10 months to get my first deal. And that was kind of long. That was actually long. And knowing what I know now, it shouldn't take you that long at all. But, and I'll also tell you, when I got that first deal, I actually did it with a partner as well. So two things up front that I would tell you: you need a mentor, and sometimes that mentor can also be your partner as well. And that's in fact, I would tell you, many of the most successful investing personalities out there have partners. They usually one, two, or three, and sometimes even larger groups. But it's just so much easier to divide and conquer when you really start to get into the flow of things and the volume. What I want to talk to you today about is how important it is to network. This probably goes into two of the different pillars that I speak about in another course and video when I talk about the 8 pillars of real estate. And this pillar is dealing with your power team pillar when it comes to networking and having those types of relationships. Another pillar that this can also go into is your buyers' relationships as well, knowing what they're buying and things of that nature. So I'm going to network. I'm going to a meeting with a guy that I've heard about, never met, seen a little bit of traffic, never met him, but he was interested in a deal that I had a bit ago. And in his particular case, unfortunately, I had so many folks interested in this deal. He was probably the 6th or 7th person. And when I say that, I mean every single one of them could close the deal. And in this particular case, the deal was so good, I went with the first come, first serve, and the first person that came, was able to close the deal, etc. But he also wanted the deal as well. And, he actually was a little more aggressive than some of the others in coming after me for the deal. And so I got to talking with him and found out that, like I said, he supports some of the millionaire players in this particular market. I've come out of the Austin, Texas market. He supports financially as a private lender, hard money lender, and he supports them with doing, providing the financing for those deals. In this particular case, he wanted this deal for himself because he also wants to have his own portfolio of properties. But here's the thing. You definitely want to know your players, know who working with. You never know who you will meet, who you can be in contact with. And like I said, this is a situation, obviously, I want to network up. It's always important to increase your network, and hopefully you're networking up and not necessarily down. I'm not saying don't network down, but it's very important to network up if you want to increase your wealth. So listen to this. Now, this guy's a money guy, and just because he's a money guy doesn't mean that all money is good money. So one of the things that I wanted to find out from him, since he had talked about, doing loans and things of that nature. And by the way, you're going to hear another funny story. I actually taught him how a different lending niche. I actually taught him a different lending niche that he wasn't aware of, because normally he does, hard money or soft money type or private money type loans on projects that, fix, flip, interest, and all this kind of stuff. I talked to him and told him about transactional lending, where you pretty much flash your money and get your money back plus some. And so he was able to make $1,200 in 5 minutes, just flashing some of his money. But here's the thing: not all money is good money. And he, by the way, he gave me a lot of credit for teaching him that, and I was his first one that he'd done that with. So now he's going to look at including that type of lend in his portfolio. It's basically, he's flipping his money. He's just flipping his money, and that's the ultimate way of creating wealth, is basically being able to take your own money and flip it. Had I known that when I first started in real estate, I would have done it that way, because I had a lot of liquid at the time I first started in real estate, but instead I chose to buy assets. And my first buy was bad. I overbought, bought in the wrong area and in the depreciating area, rapidly depreciating area, and end up, and I told you this in another video, having to foreclose on those properties. But as a rookie investor, and you're getting excited and all that kind of stuff, you're going to make some bad decisions, especially if you don't have mentorship and some type of coach and mentor, seasoned mentor that can help you. But not all money is good money, and I want to talk to you about this one. So one thing you need to recognize is you got to also have an idea of where this money comes from. Just because someone's got money doesn't mean it's money you should take, you should be involved with. And by that, what a lot of people don't know and they don't talk about is money laundering. And of course, we know since 9/11 that terrorists has been very, very, very huge, and a lot of folks don't understand that these terrorist groups are funded by drug money, funded by pushing weapons and firearms and things of that nature, a lot of illegal money. And what they try to do is clean up their money by putting it in legitimate businesses. And even more importantly, Russia, which is designated one of the number one foes, enemies of the United States, Russia is doing the same thing. They are looking for, victims per se, for folks that they can lend money to in the United States, preferably in real estate, because that's the kind of money they have. And it's a large money. It can get clean very quickly by infusing it and buying properties. And so what they'll do, they'll try to reach out to some folks that's in the game, like yourself, and say, hey, we'll be willing to lend. And that is actually a crime in the security laws. You can't take money, definitely certain types of monies from foreign governments and things of that nature. So when I met this guy and we got to talking, and this is not the first conversation, but over several conversations that I've had, when I met him, I eventually just kind of went and asked him, and you might think this is a bit intrusive, but those that are in the game of having money and wealthy understand where it comes from. provided that you ask it in a certain way. You know, you don't want to be kind of corny talking about how did you get so rich, or where did you get all your money from? Actually, good. I just got a text message from him. He's running 5 to 10 minutes late. So communication is very important in this, and I'm glad I'm not the one late. But here's the thing. I asked him, I said, listen, just curious, how did you come across the capital? First of all, are you using your personal capital, or are you pooling capital from others? And he actually said it was his personal capital. And then I just said, well, how did you come across your personal capital to do this? And he told me the story. He said, hey, look, I started a little tech company, and of course, Austin is one of the tech capitals of the country. Second Silicon Valley, as they say. I think it's becoming the first now. But he had started some type of tech company, and it got pretty well. He had a pretty unique software or something of that nature. And a company called TransUnion decided to buy his company. And so they bought his company and, of course, brought him on staff as an executive to continue to do that part of the company of what they bought. So that's how he acquired his money. And he openly told me that he's got and I don't know how wealthy he is, but I know he said that he's got $7 million out in loans right now. He tends to do a lot of 30 and 60 day type type of lens, so he's flipping his money pretty quickly. I did some quick math just off of some of the numbers that he gave me, and I just said, it looks like he's making an additional $60,000 a month off of his money. Off of the I think he was like $7 million or something of that nature. But here's the thing. It's good to network. You obviously can increase your network, which will increase your net worth if you're not networking. And for those of you that haven't done your first deal or haven't done your second deal, it takes a little time to just build up your network. And there's a number of ways you can begin to meet those types of contacts. I got, obviously involved in a couple of investor groups, some meetup groups. You can type meetup in on Google and look at different investing groups that's in your area. I attend a few of those meetings. And the funny thing is, I don't go to those meetings as often as I used to. I did when I first started because I wanted to meet folks. But then sometimes certain groups might have their own internal social board. So only folks that are part of that group is on an emailing list, because some of these groups you got to pay for too. And then there are some that are free, but only certain certain folks are on this particular email list. And so he happened to be on one of the email lists that I'm on. It's a social email list, so everybody in that organization is on that email list, and we pass a lot of deals back and forth. We post a lot of deals back and forth, and so that's how he came across the deal that I had, because I shared it in that particular board. Long story short, he really liked my conversation with him as well. He would love the deal that I had. It brings a lot of credibility when you're putting out the right numbers. A lot of wholesalers, a lot of wholesalers brings bad credibility on the industry because they really don't know what they're doing and they put out bad numbers. When your numbers are right, you get buyers. When your numbers are wrong, buyers first of all don't like it. They don't go for it. They look at you like you don't know what you're doing, or you're trying to rip them off. And at some point, you get kind of ostracized without even knowing it, but they see your name and that's your brand and they don't do business with you. I know of 2 wholesaler groups right here in the Austin market, and they've actually are in other markets as well. They can't do much with any investors because they are so aggressive and so wrong in what they're doing. So their primary target now are newbie investors that don't know what they're doing, and that's who are buying their product. Bad. So this guy really liked my conversation. I got credibility with him, and we talked about let's meet. Let's put a face behind the name and behind the voice, and let's meet. And so I'm going to kind of talk to him about other types of properties that he may be interested in. In his case, I'm going to see if he's interested in some of the higher end properties, because in order to wholesale per se, or assign or do some transactions on the higher end, you got to have a little larger bandwidth, because the risks are a little higher on higher end, but the rewards are much greater as well. And I'm going to see if he may not be interested in it. It may not be his thing. There may be some other things. I am talking to him about being a financial guy for me. I know he's doing it for a couple other millionaire players in the market here. So I may talk to him about doing that for me. And I might even see what's on his mind. What can I do for him? How can I help him increase his business? Because when you network, it's about the with effect and not the with effect. And if you know what with is what's in it for me. And most folks that are desperate and trying to grow and trying to network, they always go in with the mistake of the with them, what's in it for me. And that's not really the way you want to network. You want to network with the with, what's in it for them. How can I help this man build his business? How can I help him increase his wealth? And when you go in with that approach, it's a touche type situation, especially from a person like him, because they understand value. They understand money. You don't acquire wealth if you don't understand that. And they understand that. So I'm sure he would have in his own way, something that he would want to offer me as well. We're going to meet today. I wanted to share this with you, the importance of networking as it relates to the 8 pillars of having a real estate business. I call your attention that this particular activity relates to, I believe it's my 3rd pillar that talks about actually I think it's my 4th pillar that talks about the power team, and those that you want to have on that team, a group of key folks like title companies and attorneys and accountants, things of that nature. So he can be in the money lending part of it, but he's also a buyer. So for your exit strategies, for being able to dispose of properties, you got to have buyers, and you got to know what they want, what types of properties they're looking for, what types of numbers mostly that they're looking for. It's not really about the property. It's always mostly about the numbers. Numbers first and then the property. I know it sounds backwards, but when you get the property, they're going to look at the numbers first. And if the numbers look good, then they look at the property. So that's what I mean when I say numbers first, then the property.